What if I told you that you've been playing Draco wrong this entire time? This video features the best tips and tricks to help you play the Rockstar Dungeon Master, Draco. Alright, so to start off this guy, let's go to talk about his main attack, Lance Stab. Draco fires a piercing large beam of electricity from his electric guitar that deals very low damage. However, at max range, he deals double the damage and his radius size is doubled. Now, when you're playing Draco, you want to be laning brawlers that has a shorter attack range than Draco because he gets outranged by a lot of brawlers in the game. Draco will struggle against brawlers that can outrange him due to his attack range and the slight delay. So look for the brawler with the shortest attack range on the other team and lane against them for the best possible matchup. Now, to also help you get within range of those enemies that have a shorter attack range, try and use obstacles and walls to maneuver your way around the map. Like I said, with Draco struggling against brawlers that can outrange him, use obstacles around the map to sneak your way up and protect yourself in order to get within range of the enemy. Now, do not auto aim with Draco. You want to be manually aiming your attack so you can see the max distance from you to the enemy. You want to be doing the maximum damage possible no matter what, so always be aiming your main attack so you can see how far away you are from the enemy. Now, to get the most amount of value from every single main attack, try to position yourself between yourself and multiple targets. To not only help you deal more damage and be as efficient as possible with your main attacks, this will also help you charge up your super much faster, and Draco's super is the most important part to his kit. Now, something that I find pretty underrated about Draco that you still can do even though it's kind of difficult is peek shooting with him. This can be a great strategy to make sure you apply pressure to the enemy team or so you can protect the objective that you are trying to complete. Now, I know it can be difficult sometimes because of his attack delay, but it is still definitely possible. Now, in order to counter Draco's main attack, you either need to stay the hell away from him, like not be within his attack range at all, or do not be within that max distance where he deal double the damage to you. So never walk within Draco's attack range if you can outrange him, and if you don't outrange him, lane up against a different brawler. Just let somebody else on your team lane Draco and just have them deal with him. But okay, that's gonna be for Draco's main attack. Let's go to talk about his super, Dragon Solo. Draco hops into his inflatable dragon, regaining 50% of his ammo and transforming into his alternate form for 10 seconds. While in this form, Draco's movement speed is increased by 20%, he gains a shield that reduces all damage he takes by 25%, and its attack range changes to a continuous cone-shaped stream of fire that does not pierce targets and utilizes a large ammo bar, kinda similar to Amber's. Targets closer to Draco take the most damage, and targets near Draco's maximum range take significantly less damage. Using Draco's super when he is already in his alternate form will reset the duration of it back to 10 seconds. Now, I just love Draco's super because you can use it to apply pressure to the enemy team or if you need to regain a part of the map. His super is a great way to play aggressive and use that fire breathing attack to apply a ton of pressure onto the enemies. Since its sprays is such a wide cone as well, it'll help you cover a large area wherever you are attacking. Now, imagine just you using your super when pushing together with your team. Oh man, it's gonna make him even more intimidating. Saving your super to use when pushing up with your team is always a wise thing to do. It will relieve some pressure off your teammates since you will be the one that the enemies might want to target down first. Now, this is common sense, but people still can't really grasp the idea of this, but if you're about to die, do not be using your super. You want to be saving your super if you're about to die so you can respawn with it and try to make a play. This kind of relates to the previous tips where you can use your super to push back up the map after you die. Use the increased movement speed that you get from your super to rush back up the map and rejoin the fight. Now, let's just say theoretically you're like low on ammo or you have no ammo, you can use your super and regain 50% of your ammo. This can be helpful if you need to continue the pressure onto the enemy team and you manage to run out of ammo. It never hurts to gain more ammo whenever you use your super. It's just an added bonus with Draco. Now, let's say you're low on health in this case scenario and you need a way to escape. You could use your super and use the 20% movement speed buff to help you run away. In tight situations where you are trying to escape death, using your super might be your savior. If you're extremely low, however, you might end up wasting your super if you die. So just kind of gauge the situation and use it wisely. And even when you use your super, you're gonna gain a 25% shield that reduces all incoming damage, and this can help you play more aggressive. This kind of relates to getting more ammo and an additional movement speed. I mean, it just makes Draco even stronger. It doesn't hurt to also have an additional shield to help you stay alive longer stronger, and that's why I said Draco's alternate form is so important to his kit. Now, something that does suck about Draco's fire-breathing attack during his super is that it doesn't pierce through the enemies. So if you can manage to angle yourself to hit multiple enemies when breathing your fire, then you're just getting that much more value out of it, and it can help you chain up your next super even quicker. Now, some people still don't know this, but depending on how far away you are when using your fire-breathing attack, that is going to depend on how much damage you deal onto the enemy. You want to try and rush and get as close to the enemy as possible, since the closer you are, the more damage you're going to be doing. Although you don't want to be running around like a chicken with no head and going gung-ho all the time, you do need to try your best to get as close as possible to maximize your damage output. Now, like I said in Draco's super description, if you manage to use your super while you're still in your alternate form, you'll actually be able to continue on that duration for an additional 10 seconds. This is something that makes Draco even tougher to deal with. You need to chain up your next super within those 10 seconds so you can potentially stay in that alternate form even longer and continue your aggression. Now, something that's pretty underrated about Draco's fire-breathing attack is you can use it to scout bushes ahead of you. Since the cone of attack is so wide, you can spray into the bushes to hopefully expose any assassins or tanks waiting to ambush you. Now, if you want to be able to counter Draco's extremely strong super, I'd recommend staying the hell away from him during those 10 seconds, or do not be standing directly next to Draco during that time. Draco's damage in his alternate form can stack up very quickly, so stay the hell away from him for those 10 seconds. So if you manage to get caught within his attack range, just stay at the max distance so it does the least amount of damage possible to you. But okay, that's gonna be for Draco's super. Let's go and talk about his gadgets now, but the first one I want to talk about is gonna be Uppercut. Activating this gadget allows Draco's next attack to knock enemies into the air for 1 second. While in the air, the enemies can't move or use their attack, super, gadget, or hypercharge, but will be completely immune to all damage besides status effects and damage applied over time. Now, as you can imagine, this is going to be a great gadget to kind of interrupt and counter brawlers before they use like their attack or their super. This can fluster the enemies since there's never really been a mechanic like this in the game except for Gale's tornado gadget. People also don't use this gadget with Draco since his other gadget is way better. What's also pretty useful about this gadget is when the enemy is shot up into the air, this can kind of buy your team time to kind of refocus on that brawler that's being shot up into the air. Your team needs to change their focus onto the enemy that you just launched into the air, since they'll be landing in the same spot they launched up from, thus making them a very easy target. I can't believe I actually need to say this in a video, but before using this gadget, you have to be saving up your ammo. As I said before, with the enemy landing in the same spot from where you launched them from, you need as much ammo as possible so you can burst them down when they land. Now, one of the more common opportunities when you can use this gadget is when you're being chased down by an enemy. What I mean by this is you can launch the enemy into the air for that second and take advantage of that opportunity to escape or run away if you are low on health. Now, the downside with this gadget and why a lot of people are not going to be using this gadget is because people can waste all of their ammo, their super, or their gadget when the enemy is launched up into the air. Just don't use this gadget if you notice your teammate is about to use their super or gadget or anything that's remotely better than Draco's gadget. It would just end up being a waste of an opportunity for your entire team. But okay, that's going to be his first gadget. Let's go ahead and talk about his second gadget, Last Stand. Draco activates a shield for 2 seconds that causes him to take regular damage but prevents him from falling under 1 health. If he is affected by any status effects or damage applied over time, he will immediately be eliminated once the shield wears off. Now, even this is common sense, but never use this gadget when you're above like half of your health. The whole point of this gadget is to keep you alive when you should be dead, right? So you should never be using this gadget when you are not close to death. Also, if you notice that you are poisoned or taking constant damage over a period of time and you know that you're gonna die after the gadget duration is done, do not use the gadget. Granted, yes, the gadget will initially save you during that 2 seconds of immunity, but once the shield is gone and you're still poisoned, you will still end up taking that damage and end up dying. So Bren, when should I be using the gadget? Well, I'd recommend using the gadget when you have like 1/4 of your health left. This is a good general rule of thumb since you're gonna be pretty close to dying. However, if you're being pressured by a lot of incoming projectiles, the rule could change depending on the situation. Now, the reason why I'd recommend this gadget over Draco's first gadget is because it's gonna help you guys just play more aggressive in general. There's no doubt that this gadget is still gonna be good to help you run towards the enemies and escape death, so use it to play aggressive and try to kill the enemy first. first. Now another time when this gadget can be useful is not only when you're going aggressive, is when the enemies are going aggressive onto you. If you are already low on health and the enemy is desperately trying to kill you, that's the perfect opportunity to use this gadget, and hopefully within those 2 seconds of invincibility, you can run away in time. Now in order to counter this gadget, it's pretty simple. Just stay near Draco after the 2 seconds of immunity is gone. If you could stick near Draco and wait until the gadget's duration is done, then you can just attack him one more time and defeat him. But okay, that's gonna be for Draco's gadgets. Let's go and talk about his star powers, but the first one I want to talk about is gonna be Expose. Draco gains a bar that takes 5 seconds to charge up, and when fully charged, his next attack will mark up the enemies. Any damage the enemy takes will be increased by 35% from any source for the next 5 seconds. Now obviously this is a great star power to just deal extra damage to anybody, but it's gonna be more useful against higher HP brawlers or assassins. Since you can mark up the enemy and deal 35% extra damage, that should help you and your team even more to take down the enemy quicker. Now kind of like with Draco's uppercut gadget, you want to be saving your ammo, so after you mark up the enemy, you'll have ammo to burst them down. The enemy will only be marked for 5 seconds, right? So you want to capitalize during those 5 seconds and use up all of your ammo to kill the enemy as quickly as you can. Now in order to counter this star power of Draco's, you want to just stay away from Draco completely or just run away right as you're marked. There's nothing you can really do to remove the marks for those 5 seconds, so your best bet is to run away and dodge all incoming damage directed towards you. Bonus tip, if you see Draco not using his attacks at all, he might have his bar fully charged, waiting for the opportune moment so he can connect with his attack and mark somebody up. But okay, that's gonna be Draco's first star power. Let's go and talk about his second star power, Shredding. When Draco uses his super, he recovers 2,750 health, excluding any healing buffs or debuffs. Now this is a fantastic star power because if you can constantly chain up your super, you can just keep on regaining your health back. This will make Draco basically unkillable and having more time to try and team wipe the enemies, since regaining 2,750 health is no joke. Now what's pretty clutch about this gadget is if you're low on health, you can just instantly use the gadget and regain 2,750 health just like that. This is a great way to increase your survivability in general, since you can instantly gain health to stay alive. This can be the difference maker to help you escape, because if you are low and alive, it's better than just being dead and waiting to respawn. Now there's not really a lot of things you can do to counter this star power because he just regains health every time he uses his super, so just try not to let him chain up and cycle his supers. I'd recommend just staying away from Draco as best as you can, because if you allow him to chain up his next super, not only will he be able to keep his alternate form, but he'll be able to regain health every single time. So the recommended build I suggest you guys use with Draco is going to be using the Last Stand gadget, the Shredding star power. Go ahead and run the damage gear, because whenever you fall below 50% health, then hey, dealing that 15% extra damage, you can't go wrong with that. And of course, his Last Stand is such a good gadget, you want to be running the gadget charge gear so you can get another gadget to use throughout the game. Well hey, if you guys enjoyed that brawler guide, I highly recommend go check out this brawler guide right here.